Hello, welcome to another event of the Maryland STEM Festival. Today, we are fortunate to have space expert Justin Park, who has a long history and a diverse history in the space industry. And the space industry is becoming larger and larger every day with more and more opportunities. And Justin is going to talk about some of those opportunities. But first, can you give us a little background about yourself, Justin?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Phil, for having me on the show. I did actually have a PowerPoint slide um, that has some of the logos and some of the associations
Mhm.
that I'm associated with. Um, but yeah, I guess I can just talk to that slide. I'm not sure if you wanted me to share it or
Oh, you can
not.
go ahead. If you want to go ahead and start your
Yeah,
PowerPoint,
so
that's fine.
yeah, let me go ahead and share real quick. Um, just to kind of give people a little bit of my background and some of the organizations that I've been lucky enough to be a part of. Um, let's see here. Can you see it?
Yep, we can see it.
All right, so that's a graphic one of my graphic designers made. Um, so yeah, a little bit about myself. I went to a school called the International Space University. It's located in Strasbourg, France. They have a special master's program where you learn all about the different aspects of space, everything from space policy to space science. Um, I spent a year there, and that's actually one of the organizations that helped me get my foot in the door at NASA. As an undergrad, I went to the University of Iowa. I'm actually originally from Iowa. And then through the International Space University, I got plugged into a couple of other organizations, one of them being the Space Generation Advisory Council. That's this logo down here. SGAC is an organization set up by the United Nations. It's for young professionals looking to get involved in the space industry. We help write white papers, make recommendation to policymakers on things like space debris and space traffic management, near Earth objects, which are these big asteroids which pass very close to Earth, which have the potential of smashing into the planet and doing huge amounts of damage. They also make recommendations on spectral allocation. There's really a lot of legal and law-based things that go into space that I'll talk about a little bit. Plug for Author House, they're a book publishing company. Once upon a time, I wrote a book. It's called Pushing the Envelope. If anyone's interested, yeah, it's a little bit dated now, but it was basically a science fiction, near fiction themed book that I wrote when I was in graduate school. There's an organization that I'm a part of in Washington, D.C. called SSPI. It stands for Space and Satellite Professional International. It's a great organization full of great space companies, some of whom I'm going to talk a little bit about today. They have events and raise awareness. They've got a STEM outreach committee that I'm a part of where, yeah, we're basically engaging the community and teaching people why space and satellites in particular are important to society. A lot of people don't realize that when a natural disaster occurs, one of the most important things is having eyes on the devastation below, and satellites are a major part of that. Um, I gave a TED talk a couple of years ago on the emerging space economy. And then, yeah, early in my career, I made video games for Electronic Arts. And in DC, I'm also part of the International Game Developers Association, which is a great community of local game developers if anyone's interested in pursuing a career in game development.
I was
Um,
noticing, real quick,
yep.
Justin, I was noticing that Iowa has had 7 people in the astronaut program. That's more than 27 of the states.
Yeah, Iowa. Is it Iowa State or University of Iowa?
No, the state of
Oh,
Iowa
the
has
state
had,
of Iowa. Yeah, I think that's because Iowa just has a reputation of having a good, solid education system. The Iowa Test of Basic Skills was kind of a national standard almost for a long time. schools across the nation would gauge the performance of their students against this test. I was a very kind of wholesome state as well, very honest people there. I know growing up, we never locked our back door, which is something you wouldn't want to do in downtown DC, probably not. But yeah, Iowa State has a very good engineering program. I went to the University of Iowa, where they actually have a really good creative writing program. I went there for computer science, but yeah, they've got a law school, they've got a medical, they've got a hospital, they've got all kinds of great things. I really had a good experience at the University of Iowa. And then, yeah, sorry, Phil, I didn't mean to gloss over the intro. Did you have any other things
No, that's
that
fine.
you want
I
to
just
include, or
thought
should
that
I
was
just?
it's not something I would have thought of, and that's a great slide. So please proceed with your presentation.
Okay, so yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the Artemis program, the Artemis plan. This is kind of NASA's vision for returning to the moon, which is really exciting. NASA wants to put the first woman on the moon by 2024, which is a really, I think, a good goal. Most people don't realize that there's never been a woman on the moon before. When we went in the late 60s and early 70s, that core program wasn't really that diverse at all. There's been movies that have come out since then. The Hidden Figures movie is something I usually try and plug just because it's a good movie that showed how so many people were a part of what NASA was able to accomplish back then. And the Artemis program, yeah, it's relatively new. They've given out lots and lots of money to a variety of companies, excuse me, in the United States to build lunar landers. They've also funded a number of demonstrators, companies that will be building some of the infrastructure, cislunar infrastructure to get us to the moon. And so, yeah, that program is moving ahead. It's hasn't gotten quite as much funding as NASA has requested. Most people think that NASA is in charge of NASA's budget, and unfortunately, the politicians, our representatives who we put into elected into office, are the ones that are responsible for giving NASA their funding. And so if you want to see NASA do good things, I would encourage you to write your politician and remind them that space is important to you and that you would like to see the Artemis program succeed, and that it's something that should continue to get funding and the funding that it needs. Yeah, this is a picture of the Boeing CST-100. Boeing is an aerospace company that's been around for a long, long time. They also make airplanes. They're one of the two largest airplane manufacturing companies in the world, but they also do a lot in space. And so this module right here is going to be carrying astronauts to the International Space Station, hopefully next year. There were a few delays, but it looks like they're on track, I think, for next year to take astronauts and resupplies to the International Space Station. It's sitting on top of an Atlas rocket. Atlas is actually manufactured by Lockheed Martin, but Boeing also makes a rocket called the Delta. And the Delta is a really reliable rocket, and they've been doing missions for NASA for a long, long time. And they're larger than a lot of the other space companies I'm going to talk about. Boeing has facilities all over the United States, and so they're a good place to apply if you want to get your foot into the space industry. A lot of people have heard of SpaceX. SpaceX is a relatively new company. They've actually been around for almost 20 years now, which seems like a long time, but in terms of aerospace, that's not so long. their founder, Elon Musk, has his vision set. He wants to go to Mars, and this is their Falcon Heavy rocket. So you'll see that there's actually 3 boosters here, the 2 side boosters actually come back and land at Cape Canaveral, and the one in the middle lands on a landing barge. I think this particular rocket was the one that took one of Elon's Tesla cars into orbit around the sun. So yeah, SpaceX is hiring as well. They're quite selective. I've applied a number of times, and for one reason or another, I haven't gotten my chance to interview, but I know a number of friends and colleagues that work there. And so, yeah, they're doing a lot of amazing things. They're working on a new rocket down in Texas that's actually a lot bigger than this rocket. It's a rocket that's supposed to be able to fit about 100 people and take them all into space. And so, yeah, they're doing quite well right now. They're also launching a satellite network. I shouldn't forget that. They've got about 1,000 satellites, almost 1,000 satellites launched into space. They're going to start providing high-speed internet. I think the applications are open. You might even be able to get in now where you can get wireless internet for like $100 a month. Another less well-known company, but still doing really amazing things and has a famous CEO is Blue Origin. Blue Origin is kind of the brainchild of Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos is the CEO of Amazon. And for the last several years, Jeff has sold $1 billion worth of Amazon stock to fund this endeavor. This right here is called the New Shepard rocket. New Shepard just had a launch actually about a week or a week and a half ago. It's a suborbital vehicle, which means it doesn't actually go into space. It goes to the edge of space. But in order to go into space, you have to be traveling very, very quickly. Most people don't realize that in order to make it into orbit, you have to be going about 15,000 miles an hour. This one doesn't go quite as fast, but at the same time, when you're up that high and you come back down, there is the feeling of weightlessness. You can see the curvature of the Earth. There's a lot of interesting things about this because it's such a reliable vehicle as well. I think they're intending on taking private passengers up into space starting next year. I think originally they had intended on doing it this year, but there were some delays because of the COVID crisis. And so hopefully next year they'll start taking paying passengers to the edge of space as a recreational service. A company I also like to talk a lot about is NanoRacks. NanoRacks has this deployment system. It's kind of like an arm where you can see these little CubeSats that are being ejected out into space. NanoRacks actually works with a lot of universities and even high schools in order to get CubeSats up to the International Space Station. They have a very affordable business model. A lot of other companies, usually if you're dealing with things in space, you're dealing in the millions of dollars. NanoRacks has been able to bring the price down to, I think, tens of thousands of dollars in order to get a CubeSat up onto the International Space Station and deployed into space, which is a really good opportunity for schools that are looking to engage kids and trying to get them on a trajectory to work in space. Because if you're in high school and you can put, I built a CubeSat, I can pretty much guarantee, you're going to be able to go to the university of your choice. Because yeah, that's something that large corporations used to have to do, and now we've miniaturized things, and because of the cost of electronics decreasing exponentially, every year. CubeSats are now something that can be created at a university or a high school. These are Bigelow Aerospace modules. Robert Bigelow is an entrepreneur in Las Vegas. He has a hotel chain, but he also wants to make hotels in space. And so these modules, actually one of them was up in space floating around for several years. It didn't have any astronauts in it, but they actually had pictures of people floating around. They had a little fan that circulated the pictures. And so, yeah, they launched a couple of these up into space about 13 years ago. I think they've since deorbited, but they've also launched a smaller version that's now attached to the International Space Station. And they're conducting research and I think using it kind of as a storage closet on the International Space Station. Yeah, I'm not sure if they're hiring just yet. I know that they had some pretty turbulent changes at the beginning of the COVID crisis. But yeah, they've been doing pretty amazing things in space for a long time, and they want to put these modules on the lunar surface as well. So yeah, that's some of my favorite space companies. Yeah, I was going to give a little demo of our application that my company builds. So I have a company called Galactic Education. We make STEM software. It's geared mostly towards middle school kids, but we have worked with a high school and an elementary school in the past. We do have an addition subtraction module. There's multiples of 10, which is also more on the 3rd, 4th grade level. But then when you get down here, these particular modules are good at teaching algebra. We've got intergalactic rates of change, and intergalactic numbers of solutions, and systems of equations. And all of these modules map to Common Core and next generation science standards. Yeah, they're all free to try as well. If you just click on the try button, yeah, you can start the game up. It looks pretty nice and it runs in a web browser. We've got, here, let me turn on my audio here. Come on, Zoom. Unmute. So we've got some new music that's fun to listen to. It's Gustav Holst's The Planets, which just recently came into the open public domain because it's over 100 years old. And so this is our login screen. It's free to register your email account. Otherwise, if you don't feel like putting that information in, you can also just log in as a guest. Let's put this over here. Let's go back to full screen mode. Oh. I apologize. Wasn't registering my click here. I don't think we got the full introduction video last time either. That's something our graphic designer put together. And yeah, we've got the rocket animation when you click login. So this goes to our solar system, where you can go around to the different planets and different moons. If you hover over any of the celestial bodies, you get a little sub-information menu up on the left-hand side where it tells you the orbital period and the orbital rotation. It tells you the radius and the velocity and the orbital inclination and the temperature. And this is all great data that we got from a NASA repository where they're hosting all of the information for free. You can click on any of the objects. If you want to actually go to Earth, you can just click on it and all the planets expand out. At this particular view, you get a better idea of just how far away the planet is from the sun. You can zoom in a little bit and see the lights on the far side of the Earth. You can also go to the different countries if you want. If you want to teach your kids about geography, you can click on Spain and it will rotate the Earth to whatever country you're hovered over. And then there's additional information on the side. Let's turn our music down a little bit there. There we go. Yeah, Samoa, it's a little island. Let's go to some more planets. So most people don't know that Jupiter is actually its own little solar system, right? There's all kinds of planets that go around Jupiter. And with this, you can, if you want to go check out Io, you can check out Io. You can even click on the celestial bodies to give you an ecliptic view of the celestial body. Again, we've got the information over on the left-hand side there about the gravity of the moon and its radius and additional information like that. Yeah, go check out another great planet, Saturn. Saturn's another one that's just full of moons. You can hover over the different moons on the side to see what their orbital trajectory looks like. At the same time, we included Ceres, which is a dwarf planet that's between Mars and Jupiter that not a lot of people know about, but it's a really important celestial body. It makes up a large portion of the mass of the asteroid belt. If you zoom out here, we even give it a special line. Here it is down here. I think if we orbit around, we'll probably be able to find it. It's right there. And yeah, we allow people to use the solar system for a couple of minutes before you get prompted for to purchase a license. Or you can register and pay through either through PayPal, or if you're using the app on one of the handheld devices like an iOS device or an Android device, then it goes right through the App Store as an in-app purchase. So let's go ahead and try out a different game. That's the solar system. But if we come back, we can do some rocket trivia here. Let's go ahead and, oops. Yeah, see if we can get our rocket trivia here. It's a similar login screen. If you've created a user account in one of the applications, it's the same user account in all the other applications. And again, we can log in as guest. The only thing is if you log in as guest, it's not going to keep your progress because this one actually keeps track. There's a high score menu, and it keeps track of the number of lives that you have, because the goal is to actually launch as many rockets as you can without running out of fuel. So here's our tutorial here where it says, welcome to intergalactic rocket launching. Every time you launch a rocket, you'll advance to the next level. And the number of points you get is based on your level. And every time the level goes up, you'll either have more questions to answer, or the questions will get harder, or there'll be less margin for error. And so, yeah, it does get progressively harder. There's two ways of losing a life: if you get the wrong answer too many times, or if you run out of time. Over here is the number of chances you get to answer questions for a particular rocket, and then above it is the number of correct answers that you need to get. Over here is your rocket fuel on the side. That's how much time you have. As the rocket launches, you'll see that drain. When you lose all of your lives, then your level goes back to 1, and you've got to start back over, which is kind of too bad, right? Because if you're at level 10, you're getting 10 points per question. And if you're at level 1, well, you have to answer 10 times as many questions. At the same time, you can go back and see, you can use the rocket report to see your progress. The rocket reports are not free, but they're only $3. And so, yeah, if you're a teacher and you want to see how your students are doing, that's where the rocket report comes in handy. So yeah, you launch the rocket, there's animation. At the same time, you'll start to see the rocket fuel drain. It usually doesn't drain very quickly on the easier levels. The moon Triton belongs to which planet? So if we know anything about Triton, Triton actually revolves around Neptune. And so we can click Neptune and we get, yeah, we're gonna increase in our question counter. Which of these is not a moon of Jupiter? I know that Europa is, and I know that Ganymede is, because those are Galilean moons. I'm gonna think this. Uh-oh, that's not good. I guess it's Calypso. Which planet is not a terrestrial planet? Which means it's a gas giant. And Earth is a terrestrial planet, Mercury and Mars are, so Saturn is not a terrestrial planet. Which of these does not have a moon? We know that Earth has a moon. We know that Saturn has lots of moons, so we could narrow it down to 2. Mars actually has 2 moons, and so far we have not discovered any moons going around Venus. Which of these is not a moon of Uranus? Let's see here. This is another one that's kind of tricky. I'm going to go, and this is where, yeah, if you would want to spend a little more time in the solar system simulator, the intergalactic solar system, to really kind of, uh-oh, I'm running out. I may not. Oh no! I need to study up on my moons a little bit more. I was not successful at that one. Let's try launching one more. See if we get some easier questions. Or sometimes they repeat. But which one of these planets rotates on its side? That one's actually Uranus. The aura of plasma that surrounds the sun is known as the corona. The Saturn moon Trevo shares a name with a deity from this culture, deity of this culture. Travos sounds Greek, but it's not. So maybe Norse. Oh dear. Well, I don't know my deity culture very well, apparently. Doesn't sound Roman, but yeah, it was Gaelish, which I don't know that much about the Gaelish culture. Well, I'm not doing particularly well in my own rocket trivia game. Let's give it one more. I've got 3 more lives. Usually, so we actually covered this in our last mini game. The dwarf planet Ceres is found between Mars and Jupiter. It's a pretty important one. Yeah, we know this one. This is a repeat question. So we know that Calypso is not a moon of Jupiter. Which planet is smaller than Venus? Venus is actually pretty small, but Mars is smaller. We have another moon question. The moon Miranda belongs to which planet? It's not Mars. And these are 3 gas giants, which they all have a lot of moons. I'm going to go with Saturn. Jupiter? Oh no. Well, at least we've got one more left. So we have to get this question right. What kind of star is our sun? It is actually a yellow dwarf. It's yellow. Red are there's red and blue and white stars out there, and ours is actually a yellow one. So there we go. We successfully made it to level 2. And if we wanted to try the other games, we could go to some of the other games. We've got a multiples of 10 game as well, where we teach and test kids on the multiples of 10. If you're a teacher and you want to purchase multiple licenses, it's also very easy. Say you have 25 students and you want to purchase 25 licenses of our multiples of 10 game, you can just click add to cart and tell you, this is your cart, and you can do a checkout. It does require you to register so that we can send the information to your email address. And then what happens is, wow, usually it takes you to the PayPal purchase screen where you can check out, and then afterwards, if you go to the class view, you can see how students are doing in the class. Let me log in with an account that has a few more students in it. There's not too many students. There's one account that had, apologize. Let's go here real quick. Our test environment. This should show us our gradebook with all of the different students. If you've got a large class, this helps show a comprehensive summary of how the different students are doing on the different applications, where you can see that this particular student attempted to answer 65 questions and got 18 of them correct. You can sort each of these. If you want to see the best student in the class, then you can sort by increasing and decreasing scores. You can also go into a more granular level, where if you want to go to a particular student and see how they did on a particular game, the actual questions, you can click on the student report and see the student report and see exactly when that particular student answered the question, what the question was, and what answer they gave. And that's about it. We've got a bulk buy where you can get all of the games for $10. And there's a summary of what each of the game teaches and how it maps to Common Core as well. You can follow us on Instagram, our Twitter, or Facebook. Our website also tracks a number of space-related Twitter feeds. We've got videos and things, and we're going to start giving away t-shirts for students that have the high score in the different games starting next month. So that's about all I've got for now, Phil. We're coming up on a half an hour. I think that's pretty good.
Well, it's a very interesting game, and I would strongly recommend students give it a shot. And getting back quickly to the space industry jobs, it's
Yeah.
more than just scientists or involved in astronomy. There's a need for people with expertise in life sciences and earth sciences, correct?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, a lot of the people are scientists, computer scientists. You know, NASA has its own supercomputers. NASA has graphic designers that help put together cool looking videos to engage people. NASA has a legal team. NASA has um, people who help do compliance checks and things like that. Yeah, NASA is really an organization for everyone.
Mhm.
Yeah, it helps if you're a scientist or if you have a STEM background. When NASA opened up their astronaut solicitation last time, in order to qualify, you had to have a background in one of the STEM fields. That
Mhm.
was just one of the requirements that they had
Mhm.
in the last one. Um, but yeah, if you're into biology or chemistry or physics, those are all really good disciplines to get into if you want to work at NASA.
And there is an increasing need for people with medical backgrounds, medical knowledge.
Oh yeah, just because we're going to be going into space for longer periods of time, right? The first person who goes to Mars is going to be in space for um, a long time, over a year at least, if you're going round trip. And so we're trying to figure out how to prevent your muscles and your bones from deteriorating. There's a lot of um, long-term effects. You know, the radiation that comes from the sun is really dangerous. And so we need to be able to figure out how to keep people alive on these long duration missions to either the lunar surface or to Mars or beyond.
And then you also need a variety of technicians to actually put together these crafts and maintain them.
Oh yeah, there's a whole for every astronaut you see, there's 100 people standing behind them. Everyone from the mission control people that do you know communications to the ground people that are helping the astronauts get through their task list of tasks that they do. You know the astronauts are actually pretty busy when they go up into space. They're you know running experiments and uh, making sure that the International Space Station is stable. They just recently found a crack actually in one of the modules that they've been trying to repair. It's a small crack, but it's been
Mhm.
leaking oxygen, and so you don't want that. That's kind of
Mhm.
dangerous.
Mhm.
Um,
And then of course they're launching more and more satellites, and those require support and people to build them.
oh yeah, yep. Right now they're called mega constellations. I talked about SpaceX and their Starlink a little bit earlier, but there's another company called OneWeb that's raised billions of dollars, and they're in the process of building, you know, thousands of satellites. Amazon has a whole bunch of ground stations and is talking about building a constellation of satellites. Yeah, the satellites have gotten much smaller and much cheaper, and so being able to operate those uh, effectively is going to become a lot harder. We're still actually trying to figure out who's going to be responsible for the space traffic management system. It's you know probably going to be more efficient if it's done by the commercial industry, but at the same time, um, yeah, we just need to make sure that everybody's playing by the rules and that yeah, we don't have collisions because there have been a couple of instant, or at least one instance where two satellites, well, it was one satellite and one kind of retired satellite that collided and created a huge debris cloud, which is bad because then where you were tracking two objects before, you're now tracking 500 or 1,000, and so yeah, I think it's going to become increasingly difficult. Luckily, we have a lot of data science that's emerging. Hopefully, the artificial intelligence agents of the future are going to help us track this data or the data of the trajectories and where all of the satellites are because yeah, we don't want to have collisions in
Yeah.
space, or it's going to get very cluttered very, very
Mhm.
quickly.
Yeah. And I don't know if you've heard of this company, but I spoke with someone from a company, Astroscale, and
Yeah, astroscale.
they're developing a craft and a process to remove expired spacecraft and debris from space. So I guess when the satellites either become inactive for whatever reasons, they will hopefully be able to bring some of them back.
Yeah, my friend Charity, she
Yep.
lives, and she's actually a part of SSPI as well, one of the organizations that I mentioned earlier. And Astroscale, I know, is going to be hiring a lot of people. They
Mhm.
just raised,
Yeah.
um, I don't remember how many millions of dollars, but it was a big number. And so they're going to be hiring a lot of people to address that very problem. Yeah.
Yes, I spoke to Charity. It was a great conversation. Well, thank you very much, Justin. This was a very
All
informative
right. Yeah.
session,
Thanks, Phil. I
and
appreciate
I
you having
will
me.
talk to you soon. Take
Okay.
care.
Sounds great. Yeah. Have a good day. Good day.
Bye-bye.